Education in Thailand is provided mainly by the Thai government through the Ministry of Education from preschool to senior high school. A free basic education of 12 years is guaranteed by the Constitution, and a minimum of 9 years school attendance is mandatory. However, in 2009 the Ministry of Education extended free education to 15 years. Formal education consists of at least 12 years of basic education, and higher education. Basic education is divided into 6 years of elementary education and 6 years of secondary education, the latter being further divided into 3 years of lower and upper secondary levels. Kindergarten levels of pre-elementary education, also part of the basic education level, span 2 to 3 years depending on the locale, and are variably provided. Non-formal education is also supported by the state. Independent schools contribute significantly to the general education infrastructure. Administration and control of public and private universities are carried out by the Office of Higher Education Commission, a department of the Ministry of Education. School system overview. The school structure is divided into 4 key stages. The first 3 years in elementary school, Prathom 1 to 3, are for age groups 7 to 9. The second level, Prathom 4 through 6, are for age groups 10 to 12. The third level, Mathadyom 1 to 3, is for age groups 13 to 15. The upper secondary level of schooling consists of Mathadyom 4 to 6 for age groups 16 to 18 and is divided into academic and vocational streams. There are academic upper secondary schools, vocational upper secondary schools and comprehensive schools offering academic and vocational tracks. Students who choose the academic stream usually intend to enter a university. Vocational schools offer programs that prepare students for employment or further studies. Admission to an upper secondary school is through an entrance exam. On the completion of each level, students need to pass the NET to graduate. Children are required to attend 6 years of elementary school and at least the first 3 years of high school. Those who graduate from the 6th year of high school are candidates for 2 decisive tests, O-NET and A-NET. Public schools are administered by the government. The private sector comprises schools run for profit and fee-paying non-profit schools which are often run by charitable organizations, especially by Catholic, diocesan and religious orders that operate over 300 large elementary, secondary schools throughout the country. Village and sub-district schools usually provide preschool, kindergarten and elementary classes, while in the district towns, schools will serve their areas with comprehensive schools with all the classes from kindergarten to age 15 and separate secondary schools for ages 13 through 18. Due to budgetary limitations, rural schools are generally less well equipped than the schools in the cities. The standard of instruction, particularly for the English language, is much lower, and many high school students will commute 60 to 80 kilometers to schools in the nearest city. The school year is divided into 2 semesters. The first begins in the beginning of May and ends in October, the second begins in November and ends in March. Uniforms are compulsory for all students with very few variations from the standard model throughout the public and private school systems, including colleges and universities. The dress code in elementary and secondary grades for boys is knee-length dark blue, khaki, or black shorts with a white open collar short-sleeved shirt, long socks, and brown or black trainers. Girls wear a knee-length dark blue or black skirt and a white blouse with a loosely hanging bow tie. The bow tie is dropped in favor of an open-necked light blue shirt from Mathadyom 4. The girls' uniform is complemented by white ankle socks and black school shoes. The student's name, number, and name of the school are often embroidered on the blouse or shirt. Some independent or international schools have uniforms more closely resembling British school uniform standards, and boys in senior high school grades may be allowed to wear long trousers. The standard dress for children in kindergarten is a red skirt and white blouse for girls and red shorts and a white shirt for boys. In all Thai schools, one day per week, usually Thursday, is dedicated to scouting, when beige scout uniforms for boys and dark green guide uniforms are the rule, both wearing yellow neckerchiefs. The use of accessories is prohibited for males, while females are sometimes allowed to use simple accessories. All students are prohibited from coloring their hair or having tattoos. University uniforms are standard throughout the country and consist of a white blouse and plain or pleated skirt for females, and long black trousers, a white long-sleeved shirt with a dark blue or black tie for males. History. Formal education has its early origins in the temple schools, when it was available to boys only. From the mid-16th century, Thailand opened up to significant French Catholic influence until the mid-17th century, when it was heavily curtailed, and the country returned to a strengthening of its own cultural ideology. Unlike other parts of South and Southeast Asia, particularly the Indian subcontinent, Myanmar, Laos, Vietnam, Cambodia, the Malay Peninsula, Indonesia and the Philippines, which had all benefited from the influence of countries with centuries of educational tradition, Thailand has never been colonized by a Western power. As a result, structured education on the lines of that in developed countries was slow to evolve until it gained new impetus with the re-emergence of diplomacy in the late 19th century. Early education. It is possible that one of the earliest forms of education began when King Ram Kaweng the Great invented the Thai alphabet in 1283, basing it on Mon, Khmer, and Southern Indian scripts. Stone inscriptions from 1292 in the new script depict moral, intellectual and cultural aspects. During the Sukhothai period, education was dispensed by the royal institution of instruction to members of the royal family and the nobility, while commoners were taught by Buddhist monks. In the period of the Ayutthaya kingdom from 1350 to 1767, during the reign of King Narisara the Great, the Chindamani, generally accepted as the first textbook of the Thai language, collating the grammar, the prosody of Thai language and official forms of correspondence, was written by a monk, Pra Harashabadi. In order to stem the foreign educational influence of the French Jesuit schools, it remained in use up to King Chulalongkorn's reign. Narisara himself was a poet, and his court became the center where poets congregated to compose verses and poems. Although through his influence interest in Thai literature was significantly increased, Catholic missions had been present with education in Ayutthaya as early as 1567 under Portuguese Dominicans, and French Jesuits were given permission to settle in Ayutthaya in 1662. His reign therefore saw major developments in diplomatic missions to and from Western powers. On Narisara's death, fearing further foreign interference in Thai education and culture, and conversion to Catholicism, xenophobic sentiments at court increased and diplomatic activities were severely reduced, and ties with the West and any forms of Western education were practically severed. They did not recover their former levels until the reign of King Mongkut in the mid-19th century. Development through his reforms of the Buddhist Sangha, King Rama I, accelerated the development of public education, and during the reign of King Rama IV the printing press arrived in Thailand, making books available in the Thai language for the first time. English had become the lingua franca of the Far East, and the education provided by the monks was proving inadequate for government officials. Rama IV decreed that measures be taken to modernize education and insisted that English would be included in the curriculum. King Rama V continued to influence the development of education, and in 1871 the first relatively modern concept of a school with purpose constructed building, lay teachers and a timetable was opened in the palace to teach male members of the royal family and the sons of the nobility. The Command Declaration on schooling was proclaimed. English was being taught in the palace for royalty and nobles, and schools were set up outside the palace for the education of commoners' children. With the aid of foreign, mainly English, advisors, a Department of Education was established by the king in 1887, by which time 34 schools, with over 80 teachers and almost 2,000 students, were in operation, and as part of the king's program to establish ministries. In 1892 the department became the Ministry of Education. Recognizing that the private sector had come to share the tasks of providing education, the government introduced controls for private schools. In 1897, on the initiative of Queen Sri Bajarendra, girls were admitted into the educational system. In 1898, a two-part education plan for Bangkok and for the provinces was launched, with programs for preschool, elementary, secondary, technical, and higher education. In 1901, the first government school for girls, the Bamrung Wijasatri, was set up in Bangkok, and in 1913, the first teacher training school for women was set up at the Benchramar Rajalai School for girls. Further developments took place when in 1902 the plan was remodeled by National System of Education in Siam into the two categories of general education and professional technical education, imposing at the same time age limits for admission to encourage graduation within predetermined time scales. The first university is named after King Chulalongkorn, and was established by his son and successor King Vajiravad in 1917 by combining the Royal Pages School and the College of Medicine. In 1921, the Compulsory Elementary Education Act was proclaimed. Modernization. The Bloodless Revolution in 1932 that transferred absolute power from the king to democratic government encouraged further development and expansion of schools and tertiary institutions. The first national education scheme was introduced, formally granting access to education regardless of ability, gender, and social background. In 1960, compulsory education was extended to 7 years, and for the first time, special provisions were made for disabled children, who were originally exempted from compulsory education. In 1961, the government began a series of 5-year plans, and many of the extant purpose-built school buildings, particularly the wooden village elementary schools, and the early concrete secondary schools, date from around this time. In 1977, the key stages of elementary and secondary education were changed from a 4-3-3 2-year structure to the 6-3 3-year system that is in use today. Recent developments from early 2001, under Prime Minister Thaksin Shinawatra, the Ministry of Education began developing new national curriculum in an endeavor to center the system of education on the child, or student-centered learning methods. The years from 2001 to 2006 showed some improvements in education, such as computers in the schools and an increase in the number of qualified native speaker teachers for foreign languages. Experiments with restructuring the administrative regions for education or partly decentralizing the responsibility of education to the provinces were conducted. By 2008, however, little real change had been made, and many attempts to establish a clear form of university entrance qualification had also failed due to combinations of political interference, attempts to confer independence on the universities, administrative errors, and inappropriate or mismatched syllabuses in the schools. 12 values. Following the military takeover of May 2014, junta leader and Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha bestowed to the nation the 12 values in a televised broadcast in July. They are loyalty to the nation, the religion, and the monarchy, honesty, sacrifice, endurance, and noble ideology for the greater good, gratitude for parents, guardians, and teachers, diligence in acquiring knowledge, via school studies and other methods, preserving the Thai customs and tradition, morality and goodwill for others, correct understanding of democracy with the king as head of state, discipline, respect for law, and obedience to the older citizens. constant consciousness to practice good deeds all the time, as taught by His Majesty the King, practice of self-sufficient economy in accordance with the teaching of His Majesty the King, physical and mental strength, refusal to surrender to religious sins, uphold the interest of the nation over oneself. Authorities instructed public schools and state agencies to hang a banner listing Gen. Prayat's teachings on the premises. State agencies have also produced a poem, song, and 12-part film based on the teachings. In late December 2014, the Ministry of Information, Communication, and Telecommunications released a set of stickers depicting each of the 12 values for users of the chat application line. Recent research on the 27th of May 2015, the Ministry of Public Health released Thai student IQ survey results. They indicate that the IQ of grade 1 students has dropped from 94 in 2011 to 93. The international standard is 100. It is highly possible that Thailand's education system is harming student IQs. While the IQ of preschool students is acceptable, IQ drops as primary schooling commences, suggesting a need for changes at schools. The IQ of students in rural areas is considerably lower, at just 89. This difference persists at university. While studies have found the IQ of Bangkok University students averages 115, the IQ of provincial university students is 5 to 8 points lower. Alarmingly, the low IQ levels in the recent survey confirm continuing high levels of intellectual disability. IQ levels lower than 70, also termed mildly impaired or delayed. The average global percentage of such students is 2%. However, a previous 2011 survey found that 6.5% of Thai students scored in this range. The recent results suggest intellectual disability in some rural areas could now be up to 10%. One cause of lower IQs might be traced to nutrition. WHO research suggests iodine deficiency accounts for losses of between 10-15 IQ points. However, according to Thailand's 2012 Multiple Indicator Cluster Survey, only 71% of Thai households consume enough iodized salt, falling to 54% in the poorest households. There is again a huge regional disparity, with 82% of households in Bangkok and only 54% of households in Thailand's northeast consuming adequately iodized salt. The regions with the lowest IQs are those same areas with the highest iodine deficiency. In July 2015, the Thai Department of Health initiated a program to provide better nutrition and health education at Thai public schools. It aims to increase average IQ from 94 to 100 and boost the average height of children. Currently boys measure on average 167 centimeters and girls 157 centimeters. Over the 10-year life of the program, heights are targeted to increase to 175 centimeters and 165 centimeters respectively. Children at schools across the country will receive healthier meals and more instruction on healthy living and exercise. Private school admissions protest in May 2012. Parents and students at the prestigious Bodhan Teacher School, commonly referred to as Bodhan, in Bangkok staged a hunger strike to protest what they viewed as admissions irregularities. The issue arose when 200 Bodhan students were denied the right to continue their studies at the school at the end of the 2011 school year. The students suspected that school executives had taken away their seats to give to children of parents willing to pay huge sums of tea money, or bribes. Admission to popular schools can cost tea money, sums up to 7 figures. The greater the competition, the higher the amount of donations the parents believe they have to offer in exchange for their children's chances to get a good education at a quality school.